All right, hi everybody. Salvador Castaneda here and David Reyes.
What's going on? How are you? This is my first podcast ever.
Yes, David's first podcast. I invited David on this podcast because we have some similar stories as far as family life, and so I wanted to invite him on here in order for us to talk, just kind of have a casual conversation, talk about work and life and what he's doing, what I'm doing, and even throw in a little bit in there some of the intricacies of having a kid or having a child. Um, that's kind of between
Or
families and
or,
stuff.
or, or several. Oh,
Or
yeah.
no, I only have one. Come on, Dave. And she's 18 now.
Well, you've got through the crazy part then. Now just the now you have to now eventually she's gonna get married and that's gonna be the craziest part.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Someday.
Um, and you know what? And the craziness, being a split family, it never ends. At least for me, it's never gonna end.
Yeah.
Um, I don't have any problems with my daughter's mom. I hope she's happy, and I hope she does whatever it is she needs to do in life. I know I am. But
Cool.
some people sometimes hold on to stuff and they don't want to let it go. And
Sure.
it's kind of crazy. But it will never end, Dave.
Yeah, well,
Hopefully,
that's a bad way to start this video.
but I
That
think
means
everybody can. I think. Okay. So check this out. So this is what I think. I tell some people, if I believed in reincarnation,
Mhm.
which I think I might, and in that sense, I believed I have to accomplish something in this life. What I would be accomplishing in this life, which I'm pretty much there, is I had to get over being emotional. There's a lot of things that have happened in my life with my mom, and then
Mhm.
my daughter, and then just in general, and then with even like just recently with my dad, and a lot of it for me has been a lesson to become a lot more detached. Even though I care and I'm passionate about things, I've had to learn to be a lot more detached in order for me to make a lot better decisions. And that has been a big thing for me in life, and in particular with my daughter. I mean, I basically, in regards to my daughters, just so everybody knows, I got divorced when my daughter was about 2 years old, and then it just kind of went south from there. I one of the reasons I got divorced and was really because I wanted to have the type of relationship that I want to have with my daughter with her, and I felt that was one of the reasons. There's a lot of other reasons on both sides, and it's
Mhm.
but for me, I really, in talking about kids, I just wanted to have the relationship that I wanted to have with her, and then it just kind of turned upside down from there. I feel most parents grow up and at the age of 18, 19 years old, their kids go to college. And then now it's time for the parents to kind of let go and let their kids go. And I had to do that at 3.
Yeah.
And I had to learn to do that at 3. And it took me a long time. And then I finally got there. It's not that I don't care, but I do care. It's just a little bit more detached on some things that I can't control. So that's my story with that.
Yeah. Well, mine definitely starts around the same area when it comes to, the point when I had to, you know, end, the whole marriage thing. And my daughter was around 2 years old too. She was, I think, when the divorce finalized, she was about 23 months old or something like that. So obviously really close to, but that whole process took a few 3 or 4 months to finalize. And since then it's just been you know uh you know nothing but a battle trying to get more time. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't know if who all is listening, where they're from state wise, but here in Illinois, you know you a lot of fathers come to, and you probably know this, a quote unquote agreed, parenting agreement, but in reality, it's more of like a coerced agreement. You know,
Right.
you go in and you talk to your ex, and you say, hey, I'd like to have my daughter, half the time, and she shakes her head no. And then you say, well, okay, how about a little bit less than halftime? And they say, no. You whittle it all the way down to, she's basically saying, well, you can have her every other weekend because that's what all the other dads get. And then you go to your attorney and say, can this really be the case? Is this it? And they say, well, you can sell everything you have and she can sell everything she has and you guys can go to trial and then maybe you get an extra day here and there. So if it's worth you guys being hobos,
right?
well then sure. So right off the bat, the very first decision that's being made, the dad saying, in my particular case, it was me saying, I'd rather not have my daughter have to leave the house and, not know where she's going to end up in April of 2014. Because here we are in March, February of 14. Where is she going to be? Where am I going to be? If I just give up and just let things fall as they will, in Illinois 2014, maybe I can increase the time. So yeah, I mean, you said, you're basically looking at like, I don't know, like the ghost of Salvador 16 years ago. Well, I guess it's more like 12 years ago because I'm about 4 years into this, struggle of trying to get more time. And, sometimes when she graces me with additional time, I get additional time, and you work really hard and you ask periodically and over time you may or may not get it, but eventually, it's but you touched upon it already. It's like, it's craziness. It's every day that she's not here, my daughter, I walk past that big old empty pink room and it's gut wrenching. Luckily for me, I'm remarried. I have 2 new boys and they're amazing. So it's kind of weird to say, but sometimes you're too busy to really dwell on the sad feelings, because I do have new joy. And, luckily for me, we've been really lucky to be able to integrate my daughter and the 2 boys. And, they get along great. Pictures and the videos speak for themselves. And, my daughter loves her stepmom and, the feelings are mutual and stuff. And so it's really great. It's just, when you have her 3 days out of 10, you can't help but wish for more. You know what I'm saying? Right. So yeah, it's a crazy feeling. And, here in Illinois, I mean, I don't want to be, just like the chatterbox, but, that's what you get. When you call Dave, you get a chatterbox,
No, you're good. I just, but you've touched on a couple of points. I wanted to kind of talk to them a little bit different.
Sure.
One of the things that you talked about, as far as kind of giving up, now me looking back, it's not really that I was giving up, and this might be the same case for you, but reworded a little bit, is that I think you and I might be a little bit of the same in the sense that we care. And so when you end up in court or somebody ends up in court, I know in the beginning was always thinking, not always, but a lot of the decisions that I made were based on trying to minimize the pain for my daughter and or minimize the pain for her mom. And so we ended up in a case where it was the same thing as you, where I was kind of begging for time and she was basically saying no. But it really was
identical.
I did not want to take it to the level that she was basically taking it in order for me to win something. So I would scale off and give back, kind of give up and not pursue it anymore. And the joint parenting agreement, the same thing happened to me. I thought I just had to sign a thing. I didn't know. And in case anybody else is listening out there, you don't have to sign a joint parenting agreement, and you can change any freaking word you want on it. I don't know if you knew that. My attorney never told me that I could change it. And so I got stuck with what I thought I was supposed to get every other weekend on Wednesdays from 5 to 8, right. And I didn't know you can change anything you want on it. And the other point that you made, if people could just get along, I mean, you wouldn't even need an attorney. You can just write it out yourself and pay someone to file it. And then that's a done deal. You don't have to go to court. You don't have to spend a ton of money. And your kid is better off because at the end of the day, your kid loves both of you guys. You know what I'm saying? Like, one parent can't make another parent not love the other parent. They can try, and a lot of people do all the time, but it'll backfire. It'll backfire in the end. That's what I feel is happening with me. It's kind of backfired in the end. And so, I mean, just kind of rewording it a little bit, Dave. At some point, you're going to get tired of it, and you're going to like, you know what? I'm just not going to worry about everybody else, and I'm going to concentrate on what's important to me. And I actually did that, and I actually got the custody reversed when I got tired of getting my tail pulled.
Yeah, no, and just to touch on something else too, I know of couples, women, men who have come to that joint agreement for the best interest of the kid. The interesting thing is, I played it by the book. I moved 5 to 10 minutes away, co-parented as amicable as possible, as much as possible, and continue to try to just play it by the book.
Right.
And there are, I don't want to sit here and say, 100% of the ex-wives out there are just giving it to the husbands, the exes or whatever. That's not the case. There's a lot of people out there. They know how they're putting their personal interests aside, and they're realizing, oh, hey, my daughter or my son, they need the other parent. I may not like how he feeds them or change their diaper, but that's his method, and the kid needs to experience that method. As long as the kid's not outside playing with 5 hungry pit bulls or something like that. Nothing against pit bulls, but you get the point. Unsupervised while the mom and dad are sleeping indoors or whatever. As long as there's not some crazy neglect or violence going on, a fit parent really ought to be in the life as much as they can, given a decent distance. It's interesting, but it's something that a lot of people deal with. And I'm not a statistician in this area, but it doesn't take a scientist or a statistician to know that there's so many divorced couples out there with kids, and you and I, we connect. There's groups out there that you can talk about this stuff too. But no, it's it's really interesting. The people that I really feel sorry for, and the thing of it is, you and I both were fortunate to remarry really awesome people, and then create like a new family, and experience being a father to more children after our first marriage. And so the nice thing about that is it doesn't really give you time to sit and kind of feel sorry for yourself, because you have to be that good role model as often as you possibly can. Whereas there are some fathers out there that just haven't had that opportunity yet, and they're really struggling, and so, whenever you can, maybe this podcast will, help them out in a way somehow at some point. But
yeah, people are more than welcome to reach out to to me, or even, I don't know about you, Dave, but anybody can reach out to me and ask questions, or if they need somebody to lean on. I mean, and you and I are two guys talking about this, but it's not always the girls or the women that are the problem. There's women that have problems with the husbands. It's just to be that Dave and I are both guys on this. So maybe later on we should bring in a woman and kind of get her on how things go. And at the same time, I'm not putting blame, and I don't think Dave's putting blame on anybody. I mean, well, we kind of are, but we know that we are part of the problem too. Because everybody's some type of fault at something, but I think at the end of the day, everybody should try to concentrate on the kid more instead of their own agenda and their own feelings of something that's not there anymore. Because I really think that's what it is. What else could it be?
It's really nothing else other than that, and like we talked about before we hit record, it's like, we don't want to get into too many details or anything like that, and I don't intend to get into too many details, but I think the bottom line is that if one of the things I like to say is, like, could you just please put yourself in our daughter's shoes for a minute and just feel her heart, and she realizes that I mean, she has to go a week without seeing not just her dad anymore, but her little brother, who's just 2.5 years apart from her, and her other brother, who's 5.5 years apart. Obviously, our daughter, she's a very caring, nurturing individual. How do you think that translates into her having a little brother? She wants to care and nurture for that him. And she loves you too, obviously, mom, but you gotta give her what she needs, and what she needs is to develop those sibling relationships, because right now she's an only child in that home, and she's sitting there bored sometimes, and she could very well be over here, hanging out with family. I mean, just that whole relaxing, sitting down, like even the worst of times when they're arguing with each other and trying to figure out how to share properly. Those are life skills that she needs. Who's she fighting and trying to share with at her house? Like,
right.
Nobody. So there's just so many things that go into these considerations when you talk about, splitting time, and trying to figure out a fair way to do it. It's, since day one, I've been like, it's really interesting. Our order says, every other weekend and one dinner, no, one dinner.
No. I had the same thing.
Well, and it was really interesting because I think the very first dinner that we did, according to the rules, because it was March-ish, February-ish of the year in 2014 when we started it, there was a lot of snow on the ground. It was really cold and frigid, and her mom was basically said, I don't want to have to come out 7:30 at night in the wintertime. Why doesn't she just stay the night? So literally, before the ink was even signed, I got an additional time, but it stopped at that point. So for two and a half years, I was stagnant in that spot until her daycare provider, who was in her house day in and day out, fell ill. So since she needed assistance, she gave me time. But for 2 years, that went on. And, she started kindergarten here recently, and everything changed. All I did was ask to make it permanent, because we were essentially at equal time, and she took time away from me, and it's ever since then. You're talking about stress. Like there's nothing more stressful than family court. There's nothing more.
Oh no, yeah, I thought I was gonna have a heart attack at some point.
There, because I'm a numbers guy, and numbers are finite. Numbers are black and white a lot of times. I do deal with some law a lot, but even still, there's not a whole, there's gray area, but not this kind of gray area. You kind of know what you're getting, but when you deal with family court, it's just, I'm lucky to have the wife that I have, and the mom that I have, and the dad that I have. And, you've been there too, I have, a brother, he's an attorney, and I know you and him have a little bit of family law history too, but even still, like the positive vibes that he's given me, in terms of, just trying, reinforcing, like, stay the path, stay the path, family court, there's, I would recommend two things to people, like study the law, read cases, do as much of that as you can. But then on the flip side, just like try to be like a baseball closer, like read it, know it, and then just forget about it. Because if you dwell on it, holy crap, it'll keep you up at night. I've had so many sleepless nights just afraid of what the outcome may be, because it's such an unknown. It's all based on a judge. It's all based on perhaps a GAL if you have one appointed to your case,
Which don't do anything really. So
no, I mean, you said a half hour. I could talk like for 5 hours about this stuff.
So let me tell you. Let me tell you what I learned at the end, and this is when I won and I got custody changed for myself. Mm-hmm. And anybody out there listening, I always consult an attorney. They can better tell you. But if I was going to suggest anything to anybody, Dave, I would tell you this: you are responsible for your life. And if you get an attorney to represent you in any type of case, whatever it may be, but in this case, family court, you have to become, this is what I did in the end, you have to become an extension of that attorney. You have to become that attorney's brain and give them all of the information that they need in order for them to be able to better represent you. That I did that. I provided all of the details. I didn't just say, hey, I want to get my custody changed. In the end, I didn't. I have a lot of bad experiences and had to refinance my car. When I was poorer than poor, I had to give away 20% of my paycheck, and when I really needed it. And anyway, so you are an extension of, and this is for you too, Dave, you're an extension of what your attorney needs in order to do a better job. And then the other thing is, I learned this through going to court. If they don't have, whenever somebody doesn't have all of the details, you don't have to give them anything. I remember towards the end when I got the custody changed for me, my daughter's mom's attorney, I mean, he was literally like this, because I wouldn't answer any question that he didn't have all details to. And then one of my responses to him was, if you can provide me the better details, I can better answer your question with a yes or a no. And if you don't have that, that's not my problem. Right. And so for everybody listening here, there's a lot of people fishing. And if people are fishing, especially in court, you don't have to give them the fish. If they don't have it, they don't have it. Don't answer it, especially if it's wrong. But hold on. And then the last thing that I think is important for everybody to know, and this is where I failed for a lot of years and where I think a lot of people fail. If she says, or he says, whoever, if the other party says, I want full custody, and you say, you know what, I'm fine with half. My experience with how it's gone with people is if they want full custody and you want half, you're going to end up somewhere in the middle. So you're not going to get half, and they're going to get, and they might not get full custody, but it's more going to be that way. And what I've learned in court, Dave, is if they want full custody, I want full custody. I want more than full custody, actually. And then because in court, in my experience was, it doesn't matter, and I don't know how attorneys are going to feel about this, but it doesn't matter really what the law is. It matters what the attorney brings up about that law, and it matters what people say in court. So when I got to a point where I just got tired of it, she's like, I want full custody. Fine, I want full custody. The only thing I said I didn't want is money, but they ended up giving money in the end, and anyways. But that would be my suggestion to people. They want full custody, you want full custody. And then you get to a point where hopefully you end up in the middle, which is what you would want, which is 50-50. Even going to mediator, I don't know if you know this, a mediator doesn't have to do anything. And if you guys go into a mediation, and one of you guys is an asshole, I thought that the court would get a letter saying this guy was really trying to work it out and this person wasn't. That doesn't happen. They just say they couldn't come to an agreement and there's nothing else. And so if somebody knows that they're going into mediation is a bunch of shit, because if one person doesn't want to contribute, they don't have to. And at the end, it just costs you money because they normally ask for you to pay it, right?
Right.
And in the end, they go in there not trying to make a deal, and then you end up with nothing, and the court gets a piece of paper that just says, hey, they couldn't come to an agreement. It doesn't give anything else. And I don't know. Those are my 3 or 4 cents about it.
Yeah, no, and I completely agree with everything you said. And to be honest with you, so does my attorney, because we're asking for the same thing that she's asking for, essentially. And with regards to the mediator, it's we went through 2 mediators, and the first one was just I was able to pinpoint immediately that she had already, I don't even think I'd been there for 5 minutes, and she had already chosen who she wanted to advocate for. Mm-hmm. Just out of the tone, her body posture, just kind of like her responses to my statements, and then her how she was coming back at me with questions. It was just it was crazy. But then the second mediator was what a mediator should be. And I can't tell you how many times he said similar statements to this. He would say none of that matters. that none of that matters. Just
Okay.
stop talking about that stuff. What can you agree on? Like, just tell me what you can agree on. Like, where have you agreed? Where have you not agreed? And can we just talk about why you're not agreeing to that and keep the emotions out of it?
Right.
And although we came to zero agreement on the main things, we did find a couple of areas that we were probably going to be able to stipulate to at the end, agree to. But more importantly, it gave each other insight into the objections. Like I was asking for what I was asking for, and she objected to it. Up to that point, her email reasoning was just because. I mean, or essentially that. It's like no, just because. There was no explanation. She didn't have to give an explanation, obviously. But
Right.
finally, through mediation, the one thing that I did get out of her was kind of more verbalization of what the no meant. And it's her opinion. She's entitled to her opinion and her stance or whatever. So while yes, there was no agreement that came out, and everything you said was absolutely true, the mediator is not going to give feedback to the court or anything like that. One area that it did provide me with was an opportunity to kind of get her talking. Someone who was neutral was pushing her to get talking, and me too, and just kind of like express, and one of the things that I expressed was, just like the mourning that I went through back in 14, because you kind of touched upon it, but we mourn, because one day we're there every day, and then the next day you think, oh, maybe at least I'm going to get half the time, but you get to that point and you get to the finish line and you're like alone without your kids for,
You hope.
11 days every 14 days, so,
Yeah.
you go through the mourning process. And what I expressed to her was, like I've done that for 4 years now. And, my daughter's done that. It's not just me. My daughter's mourning
Right.
my presence also. Don't think it's just about me. My daughter, it misses me. Don't
Right.
think that you're so like amazing and special that your presence completely negates the loneliness that she feels of missing her father, who she's always been attached to. This isn't a case of, she was born and after 4 years I'm coming along. It's like I changed her very first diaper. I changed her very first 10 diapers in the NICU when she was in the NICU for 10 days. It's like I've been there,
Kids need both parents, bottom line. I mean, unless one of them's a serial killer and likes to kill kids. I mean, but even if you're a serial killer and, they're still a loving parent, I mean, I guess that's fine. But but the kids need both parents.
Absolutely. And, like I kind of mentioned it before, like even if the guy has big Shrek hands and he's not really good at changing diapers, it doesn't matter, because guess what? Like that kid may grow up to be a Shrek dad too. So he or she is going to need to know how to function and operate with Shrek hands, because that kid is that dad's blood,
Right,
so,
right.
And then let's not even get into, extended family, when a dad only has 3 days, weekends, I'm from the Quad Cities. You're on the Quad Cities right now. When do I ever make it out there? With my daughter? It's nearly impossible, because, those weekends that I have, I'm just trying to maximize that time. So my brother, the uncles that are back there, the cousins that are back there.
Yeah, you can just forget about all of that.
Yeah, my daughter's gonna have zero to no, knowledge of that family, because I'm just trying to maximize what I have up here, in the city.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like it's crazy. And we kind of talked about it a little bit, but there's like a huge movement going on, and I'm not going to say I'm anywhere close to the leadership on it. All I know is that I am advocating on one of the grassroots, phone calling folks and emailing folks that's really pushing for equal shared parenting legislation in Illinois. And it's really becoming like a true possibility. I mean, because we're here in Illinois, and already in Missouri, it's similar legislation passed one of the chambers, and it's moving on to the other chamber. It occurred in Iowa within the past week, and I heard it occurred down in Alabama, passing at least one of the chambers and moving on, where there's the rebuttable presumption of equal parenting time for fit and, loving, non-neglectful parents and stuff. It's a lot of the opponents really want to kind of paint it as a 50-50 requirement, when in reality it's not a requirement. It's just, it basically forces the judge to start in the middle and then work their way outward, as opposed to where it currently is traditionally, where, unless you are willing to spend upwards to $50,000 to $100,000 per side to just talk about your case in front of a judge, then you're pretty much slapped with what we ended up with even back in 14, and looks like you were back in 04, 05 or something like that.
Yeah, 2001, 2002.
Oh, okay.
But with what you're doing, so what is the legislation? What's it called?
Okay, so there's a group. First off, there's a couple of groups that are spearheading it. I'm just like one of the small minor minions that follows it. There's a couple of people out there, Illinois Fathers for Equality, and then there's Dads Can Too, like TOO also. And then there's American Parents for Equality. That's more of like a nationwide thing. But in Illinois, the legislation is called House Bill 4113. So
House Bill 4113. And for everybody listening, everything Dave's saying, I'm going to put it in the description of this video, so everybody has links to all these different places and House Bill.
Yeah, and I know you're on the Iowa side, and the Iowa bill, I don't have that bill memorized, but it's like SJ something. I'm gonna Google it right now.
All right. I mean, the big takeaway from all of this is that, if us as parents, kids need both their parents in their life, and it would be nice. I don't know if you even know this, Dave. Did you know that child support back in the day when it started, it used to not exist, and then when child support came into play, it used to not get paid to the other parent. It used to go to the community that helped to raise that child, because it didn't have what it needed, because it didn't have both parents.
Interesting.
I don't know if you knew that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, child support never started because they needed to compensate a person for it. It started to compensate the community for coming together to help raise that child.
Well, I have that Iowa Senate bill. It's SF 2374.
SF 2374.
Yeah, and that's on the Iowa side. And I could look up the Missouri one that passed about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it hasn't passed all the way through. It just passed the first chamber where it was first read, and then I think Alabama did one. Kentucky already had one signed by the governor, but that's for temporary parenting. So when a couple splits, right off the bat, when they walk into court the first couple of times and they're trying to figure out who's going to get the kids temporarily until the final orders come together, they have an equal shared parenting temporary order bill,
which is very important for everybody listening out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because temporary means permanent in the eyes of the law most of the time. I don't know.
Yeah, like status quo is status quo, and that's why I had my daughter for essentially half the time, for 24 months, and then all of a sudden it was just unilaterally taken away. That's in my eyes, all the research that I've looked at and all the cases that I've seen, that's good. That should and ought to weigh very heavily in my favor, and so
definitely.
But here's the bottom line. Here I am, almost $15,000 in fees, into this case just to bring it up, just to talk to the judge about it. And you got to consider if that's what I've paid. My ex-wife has probably paid that too, and like that's a year of a decent college tuition already
Yeah.
gone.
Yeah.
Already gone. And someone out there is going to say, well, Dave, why'd you even bring it up? Just let why are you trying to take a bite out of the apple or something like that? And
Well, it's important to you.
and that's preposterous.
Right.
It's not just important to me. Like for 2 years, my daughter had both of her parents equally, and
Right.
then all of a sudden, school started. There was a child support law that passed in that became effective July 2017, and just to defend against that, my ex-wife decided to just take all this time away, and
Right.
it was. I mean, she didn't even put herself in her daughter's shoes to say, oh my God, do you think my daughter might miss this extra time, this full day per week being stripped away?
Right.
And
Right.
no, she's fine with that, man. No,
Right.
that's not how it works. So yeah, I mean, these bills really need to pass because honestly, if two parents just dislike each other, but dad works his butt off around the house and helps with this and that, and mom helps with this and that, and everybody's just really sharing duties. Maybe the split's a little bit more skewed, it doesn't matter. If the dad's still getting household work done, it doesn't mean he can't change a diaper. It doesn't mean he can't clean out a bottle because,
Right.
while she's doing that, he's mowing the lawn or cleaning, like changing the car oil or something like that. All the stuff that needs to get done.
Well, here's my take on it. If you guys didn't get along enough to get divorced, what the hell are you going to fix in court for your kid? You can't.
Yeah.
It has to be about the kid. You're not.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? You don't like me?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why we're not together. You know what I'm saying? You don't agree with the way I do things? Okay, yeah, that's why we're not together.
I agree.
You don't want to communicate with me or we can't come to an agreement? Okay, that's why we're not together. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I think people need to start thinking about the kids a lot more. And even just the fact that the kids need both parents. If somebody's, like I said before, it's like, even if you think your ex is a piece of shit, it's still your kid's parent.
Yeah,
you're gonna love them just the same.
And this isn't just a bunch of dads that are getting together with their picket sticks and trying to change.
Yeah, that doesn't get anybody anywhere. Just so everybody knows, picket sticks don't do anything. What you're doing, as far as going through the courts and put bills, I think is what makes a difference.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's sad that we have to go through the courts as we do. The interesting thing is that all this legislation that's being spawned isn't just being backed up on a whim. I mean, all this stuff is backed by research. And I'm not a sociologist or psychologist or anything like that, but I've seen the studies that the groups have put forth and have been giving to the legislators, and all this stuff is legit. It's legit. It's done not just in this state or in this country. It's done. It's being accumulated all over the world. And once again, not a sociologist or whatever, but obviously divorces has been happening since the 60s and 70s, like an increasing, and even before then, obviously, but to the point where they started to accumulate data, and they have enough of this every other weekend versus people who have gone to shared parenting, and then they have enough sample to actually take a look at this and not only just look at what's going on currently, but to take a look at the people who were sharing 50-50, back in the late 90s, and interviewing those kids, and saying,
they grow up to be a lot better in society. And
yeah, exactly. And so it's clear. It's just clear. And at this point, then you start trying to strip away the reasoning behind things, and it's just like it becomes pretty clear. You see where you see who the opponents are, and you see who the proponents are. And the proponents are women, their grandparents, their aunts, their sisters, their daughters, alongside the men. Because, and these women, they're not all single women having never bore a child ever in their life. They've they've had kids, they have kids, they're currently helping to raise their stepkids, and they're seeing, how good of a dad this is. This isn't the 1970s dad who drank Schlitz on an old Cutlass Supreme.
Right.
This isn't Dazed and Confused 16-year-old kid having kids. I'm a 40-year-old professional who takes pride in the minutia. Like I like doing little things.
Yeah, you change diapers, you spend time with your kid, you read them books. I agree.
It's a new age, it's a new day, right. And so and here's the thing, I support things like the ERA. I support stuff like that. I do think equality is amazing. It doesn't matter, what gender you are. You can love anybody. Everybody should get married. I am all for that kind of stuff. And along the same lines, dads can be good moms too, and moms could be good dads. Yeah. It needs to get fixed so that the kids can have everything that they could possibly have. And I think, that there's so many problems going on in this world. I think a lot of that can be, reduced with something like this. Do this now, and in 25 to 30 years, you're going to see the benefits of it. Maybe you have to do a couple of other whatever restrictions that you may or may not agree with. I'm not even going to get into those kinds of politics, but this is one of the pieces of the puzzle. It's like you want to point to America's lost its ethics and this and that. Well, give the dads back. Give the dads back. It's like like you say we don't nurture. That's not true. And say, oh, we don't care about the kids. Like, oh, we care about the kid. It hurts me every single time I hear the kid cry. Like I hear it in my gut. I just have a little bit more pain tolerance to let that kid cry a little bit more, just so maybe they learn a lesson a little bit deeper. It's just that type of parent has been removed and become a visitor. And a visitor doesn't discipline. A visitor maximizes their time so that they can try to win love back. And it's not against them. So all of a sudden you got, just, I don't know. I could go on and on.
But I think we could probably end this segment with what you said in regards to, and I can't remember exactly how you worded it, but you said something towards the end about just loving the kid or just kind of trying to be like, I think we can end this segment by saying that kids need both their parents. It's an understanding that people don't get along and then they get divorced, but it would be much better if people spent their time in court more thinking about the kids and letting the kids get to know each parent instead of still being stuck on the reasons why someone got divorced. I mean, that's, like I said, that's a known. So anyways, so again, everything that Dave talked about as far as the bills coming out, I will put them on the bottom of this podcast. And then, Dave, do you have any encouraging words for any dads going out there on how they can try to cope? So how about, before we end it, let's talk about what are some things that you do to cope and to help your daughter cope when she's with you, to make her feel part of the family?
Well, you know what? It's first off, like I do follow all of the good old, co-parenting textbooks when it says, like, don't mention anything about anything about the case or anything about the mom, whenever, and it's evident because my daughter just speaks glowingly about her mom and her mom's, family and like her boyfriend and stuff like that. And that's great. I encourage her to just be open and free. I don't want to stymie the communication. As far as including her, she gets punished along with the other kids. I do my very best, and it's that that's one of the most stressful parts, to be honest with you, just because you're always trying to self-reflect and make sure that everybody's getting treated the same.
Yeah.
And it's like my daughter was here and she was 3.5. Now my son is 3.5. It's like trying to remember how I approached her discipline so that I'm not over disciplining him or anything like that, because I don't want to, run into that. But I mean, you're talking about how to reduce stress. That exercise just all it does increases stress for me, but it's good for my daughter because she sees the same exact stuff. She sees that she was treated the same exact way that her brothers are being treated. That goes a long ways. Like whenever something's bought for the boys here, we do our very best to try to buy something similar for her, so that when she comes over, something, because she's at the point where she wants, she's part of the family, and like I said, she was here for half the time for 24 months. That's that she came to expect that time, and you got to give her her own room. You got to let her have her own space. You have to, as she gets older, she's wanting a little bit more independence from her little brother. And I say, that's fine. Go spend some time, in your room. It only ever turns out to be 5 or 10 minutes because she misses everybody and wants to come back in, but you just gotta, I don't know, go with the flow and just, more, I guess the biggest thing too is, and this is something that I'm constantly trying to improve on, but just listening, to my wife, because, she's obviously very in tune with her two natural boys. And luckily for me, she's really caught on to, falling in love with my daughter too. It's an interesting dynamic with my ex-wife and like the struggle and all of that, because, the person who has the worst of it is my current wife, because I
stuck in the middle.
It's just
more really.
The worst, I guess the biggest part is it's like, she's a mama bear too, and she wants to protect. She wants to protect me. She wants to protect, her stepdaughter, but she's put in this silencer box to basically be told, please don't say anything lest you mess anything up, and that's an interesting position to be in, because you see everything, you hear everything, and yet you're essentially told by the mom, and even to an extent the dad, because I mean, you want her to have a voice and you want her to feel empowered, but at the same time, when you're in family court and everything, like the microscope is on you.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I guess I would, the advice would just be, try to really focus on the good things in life, and like try to, do your best to shut down the family court thing. I don't talk to my attorney too often anymore. I got to him everything that he needed to have up front. And I was very stressed out during that time, because at the same time, she was shoving her attorney everything that she thought her attorney needed to know. So there was that back and forth with motions and stuff like that. And every time a new response to my motion came through, it was just like, oh my God, she's trying to make that into an issue. These are the real issues, and all like that is what she's, and it was so stressful. But finally now we've kind of hit a little bit of a lull with the GAL kind of investigation going on. And it's actually been the best, like as far as stress has been concerned.
Great.
It's been very low key. I don't know. We'll see how that, if that's good or bad, but like just find something that's making you happy. For me personally, it's my boys when my daughter's gone, and my daughter, or not my daughter, my wife, like like we drink our glasses of wine when the kids go to bed, we have a glass of wine, we watch a movie, we Netflix and chill and stuff like that. My mom's in town now, so she babysits every other weekend, and we go bowling, we go see a movie, we try to just be a couple still. And you got to have that, like you deserve to be loved too, that
right.
I mean, be a dad, and let being a dad be your number one priority. I think fathers need to be fathers, and fathers need to be, they need to just like step up. And I don't know a dad that's not. to be honest with you. And
Yeah,
so
but there are some fathers that do need to step up. So I mean,
there
if you're
are,
a dad that's kind of slacking off and not paying attention to your kids,
yeah,
that's probably another message. You probably should pay attention to your kids.
yeah, just step up, like put the video game controller down, dude.
Yeah,
Like stop going to the bar. Like call up your kid, text them. I mean, I don't know, like I don't get to talk to my daughter every day, but she's just now learning how to send. She can write. She's in school now, so she sends little sight words to me like "I love you, Dad," and she loves emojis. We watched the
nice.
Emoji Movie together, so
Mhm.
she's all about the emojis and stuff like that. And it's so heartwarming because she picks out the dad emoji, the mom emoji, and then like her emoji and then her little brother's emojis. And it's for
Oh,
me and
cool.
my wife. And she sends hearts, hearts, hearts and says, "I love you. Say hi to everybody," for me. Stuff like that. It's just the cutest little thing in the world. And like we get stuff like that. And it's just, you just go like, how is this not like worth equal time? It's insane, like how is it not? And so but when you get those moments, deal with it, feel it, and then just shed it. Just
Yeah.
get to the next happy moment. Figure out whatever that happy moment is. Hopefully you have someone next to you that's supporting you. If not, I'm not saying go find one immediately for that purpose only. Hopefully you stumble upon one in the normal course of life. But, if you have that, lean on them, but then just communicate. Let them know, like, hey, can I communicate this stuff to you? Because, if you don't, you're just going to have periodic moments of just curling up into a ball and crying, because I've had those too. And guess what? Those are fine as well.
Yeah,
Have
it's fine
those.
to cry.
Have those. It's just
Yeah.
curl up in a ball and cry sometimes, dude. You'll feel better, So just do it. I don't care if you're a mechanic or an Air Force pilot or you're just like a MMA fighter, whoever you are. If you're macho, you think you're too macho to cry, just give it up, man. Just cry.
You'll know something funny. We were just on a trip, and I had one of my sons in the car, Alex, and
Mm-hmm.
I was just playing around with him. We were listening to music, and I say, "Hey, Alex, you want to cry it out?" Just kind of pretending. And so we pretended to cry in the car.
Mm-hmm.
I was just playing around with him. And afterwards, he basically said, "I kind of feel good." And so just kind of bringing light to what you said, sometimes crying does make you feel good. And if you don't want to cry, you can pretend to cry, and actually it will make you feel good. Um, and so I think at this point, I think we're gonna end it with that, right, Dave?
Yeah, man.
All right.
Absolutely.
So thanks everybody for watching. Thanks for listening to Dave and I. The last bit of advice I'd want to leave to everybody is try really hard, like what Dave was saying, to leave everything out of it and basically just try to have a relationship with your children. One of the things that I did, well, it took me, I am not a good example. It took me a long time to learn a lot of different things. But at the end of the day, one of the things that I feel that I did do good is I've always been real with my daughter. And the relationship that I have with her now that she's 18 years old has always is and will always be a real relationship. I'm upfront with her. I try to talk to her very straightforward. I try to share who I am, and I love her for who she is and what she is, no matter what she is. And she knows that whether she's with me or not with me, I always carry her with me, and I'm always there for her no matter what, even if we don't agree. So anyways, I'll just leave it at that.
For sure.
All right. Hold on. Oh, let me see. Hold on. Stop.